Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Friday Love and Learn. Took a couple of weeks off over the winter break, and I hope everybody had the opportunity to kind of relax, unplug, do something a little different during that time. But excited to rejoin this, as it is always a great way to end the week out. And so I'm really grateful to Melissa Wheelock of ESU 10, and Sydney Kobza of NDE, and Ben Hanica of ESU 4 for joining us for this week's Love and Learn. And kind of from the top, I just want to be candid in saying this, that it's been kind of a week. I don't know about you, but just Monday, Tuesday was a little tough getting back in the rhythms after being out for 2 weeks. Wednesday brought with it its own gravity. And I truthfully have been personally reeling a little bit since then in terms of just kind of my general mood, and found it a little tough thinking about getting back to the old Love and Learn. And I think I want to start by saying I certainly do not want to be tone deaf to the moment or to things that happened to the Capitol earlier this week. Certainly a pretty dark day for us as a country. And while I may not necessarily be happy in this moment, there's a difference between happiness and joy. And I certainly find and derive a lot of joy from the work that we're able to do in education, because I think that we are such a societal change agent, right? I think that the work we do is meaningful. I derive a lot of joy from investing in that, and I see it in other people that I have the privilege of working with. And so here on this Friday, as much as it might seem a little odd or off for us to be talking about things that we loved from this serious week and learned from this week, I'm not going to let what's happened rob me of the joy that is being an educator and an advocate for the change that education can bring about. I want to just kind of say, to whatever degree I have the ability to give permission to folks, let's not let it do that, right? Let's continue to be the change we want to see in the world, and go about that in a way that really sparks joy for ourselves and others through these conversations that we have on Friday. So I just want to front load a little bit with some of that, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. So thanks to everybody who's tuning in online, and to our guests here today. We're going to start off with the love. So let's just get right to it. Our love from this week was something that we loved over the course of that time. Melissa, if you'd start us off, what was the love from your week?
Well, Andrew, thanks for inviting me, and please know how much I appreciate the joy that you do bring. I'm appreciative that you are a colleague. Same thing with Min and Sydney. So thanks so much for the invite today. In thinking through my love for this week, I have always loved the first day of school. The excitement that comes with that, fresh start, fresh calendar. I used to love the new outfits coming in and the excitement on faces. So this Sunday night, this week, I had a hard time sleeping. I had felt renewed and recharged for being home with my family. But that's my home family. And then I have my work family. And so I was so excited to come back on Monday to my work family and with my colleagues. And so it was just that anticipation of starting this new year of 2021, and all that can unfold, and the difference that we can make, and the excitement that comes with that. I've been blessed in my professional career by the students, my colleagues, the people that I've worked with in my professional life. So as we got through the middle of the week, I had some conversations with those people I've been blessed with, and some conversations. And one of my trusted colleagues that I admire and respect, she says, Melissa, I keep coming back to the quote. It's a Fred Rogers quote, which you've probably heard before, but it resonated with me. It said, Fred Rogers said, when I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news, and my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. To this day, especially in times, I remember my mother's words. And we had a discussion centered on that. And I thought, how fortunate are we that we can be those helpers, and in the work that we do, and the pride and the joy that comes out of that. And so when I was talking to her, she reminded me of, I have a file and I have a couple of boxes. They're not anything fancy, but I brought one today. This is one of them.
Oh, yeah, show and tell. This is awesome.
Or letters, or mementos that go in there that if there's a time in the week where I need to just have a pick me up or a love during that day or a reminder of why I do what I do, I pull this out and I might look through a couple of those. So I encourage people to do that. Sometimes when I get an email, I'll say to the person right up front, I'm putting you in my folder for days that I need to be reminded. So thanks so much for the email. And one of the ones that I happened to pull out was a special student that I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with in my administrative days. And I had a picture of him in my box. And what came up with that was we had a Dunkin' Donut sack in front of us with big smiles on her face. And that came through a conversation. And one day when he was in my office, he said, Dr. Wheelock, you know what I love about you? And I thought, oh, okay. I said, what do you love about me? And he goes, I love that you always smell like donuts. And I didn't know if it was my love for donuts or my perfume. But I thought, that was our connection then. So we had this donut thing going on. And when I spoke to his mother about it, she said, take that as the highest compliment because he loves donuts. And so sometimes I think, okay, am I smelling like a donut today? But that was one of the memories in my love box. Just little things like that. Just memories along the way of why I love what I do. So those were my loves for the week.
Gosh, Melissa, that's something that I really appreciate doing this Love and Learn on a weekly basis because it slows you down and makes you have to really think about it. And even if, you get even it's last minute, right? Even if I get to Friday and go, I really need to just stop to think about these things. It's just so healthy. And so that's awesome. You have a whole box to kind of go to.
I have a couple of them. I've been in this for a while. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Sydney, how's your week? Love from yours.
Wonderful. And Andrew, I just want to say that I appreciate you level setting before we start today and just addressing those important things and that we have to deal with as educators and really empowering us teachers and admin and NDE staff to have those courageous conversations too. So thank you. Very similar to Melissa. It must be something from Minden. Melissa and I both have ties back to Minden, Nebraska.
Go Whippets.
Yes, go Whippets. One thing that I loved about this week, and it's going to be two parts, was getting back into the routine. My daughter loves going to preschool, and that started back up again this week. And so seeing the joy, her coming home and just having fun with her friends. My husband's back in the classroom, so he's back to his routine. And then my 2-year-old is back at daycare this week. And so we're all happy that that routine is back and established for her, just her overall demeanor. Another reason that I'm loving this routine, a lot of our CTE team members took vacation over the holidays. And so we meet every day. And those meetings over the holidays we didn't have all of our team members there just because people were on vacation, as I stated. But getting back in the swing of things, we're having those meetings daily and just being around these professionals that I admire so much and moving work forward in career and technical education in Nebraska has just been so good for my heart this week. And we're going to have a challenging spring ahead of us, preparing for the career and technical student organizations, those events, and then some of our other professional learnings coming up, but just really making sure that our students and teachers and admin all have these opportunities. And I'm so thankful to be in those meetings with them and planning and moving forward that agenda with them.
You know what? Actually, while you're talking there, speaking of CTE folks, so Otis chimed in that his love was that he got to meet virtually with ag ed instructors and NDE. So there you go, right? So that love was shared.
I want to give an amazing shout out to our new FFA advisor this year too, Sarah Heidemann. She joined us this summer and she is doing an incredible job hitting the ground running with that. And so I don't know if she'll watch this, but her and then Donnie Walters too, who is our Ag, Food, and Natural Resources Career Field Specialist. They are just doing incredible things. So thank you, Otis. Appreciate it. Love our Perkins contact at ESU 7.
For sure. And speaking of CTE contacts, right, Ben, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm one of them too, for better or for worse.
Yeah, how was your love this week?
Yeah, I'll mention a couple of things. My personal one, and this is really more from Christmas break, but my son is a second grader, and his grandparents got him a Chiefs a Kansas City Chiefs little kids uniform for Christmas, like we all had, the pants and the helmet and jersey, and he'll just randomly put that on and start playing football in the house, not with a real football. He knows better than that, thankfully. Usually with a dog toy, and like his cadence, I mean, he can sound just like Patrick Mahomes. The kid wants to be Patrick Mahomes, and he'll throw like a plush dog toy for our lab down the hallway, like he's Patrick Mahomes. And it's great because with the snow on the ground, yeah, it's showtime in the Hanukkah house. With the snow on the ground and the cold weather, everybody gets a little bit of cabin fever. So it's great. It wears both of them out, the dog and my son. And that's just fun to watch, him do that. So he loves his little Chiefs uniform. On a professional side, one of my school districts, they decided before Christmas break that when they returned from Christmas break, teachers were going to start Zooming their live instruction for students in quarantine or remote learners. And they set up for me to do some training with them. I spent the whole day Monday. We did a couple hours with the middle school, high school staff, and then a couple hours with the elementary crew. And then I just hung out in the afternoon so teachers could come and find me. And I just absolutely love how willing to learn all the teachers were. It'd be really easy for a teacher in this state that we're in right now to grumble and think, okay, that's just one more thing I have to do. But there was literally none of that. I mean, growth mindset, asked really great questions, and I just really appreciate. I know they go home exhausted every night because my wife's a teacher. I know that there's never been a time in education more challenging than this, but I love their willingness to go the extra mile to do what's needed for kids. So those are my loves.
Awesome. It actually made me think of so I'm going to do a personal and professional as well, and I'll be brief. My personal one was very similar. My son, preface, I'm not from Nebraska, so I don't really have like this college football thing. I'm going to say it now and probably get owned social media for this, but I grew up in Illinois in the 90s, and so I'm an NBA guy, right? If you watch The Last Dance, that's all you got to say. That was my childhood right there, going through all that. So my son is going to be 7, and so we finally I got him playing NBA 2K, and Sid's like, "Wow, right? Isn't it crazy?" So we'll take a break. Sydney and I used to work together at Westside, so we got that kind of connection there. And so yeah, isn't it crazy? My son was born when we were still kind of teaching and everything.
I remember when he was a little baby.
I know, he's much bigger now. So now we're playing 2K together, which is crazy. But it was so much fun. He's so much better at it than me, and it's not like he's been on. I think it's his first couple months of playing on any game system, but that's been a real joy to sort of just trash talk and have those moments in the living room together. And on a professional level, I will say one thing that I'm looking forward to, and sometimes I do like some subtle promotion through all this, but it's just because it's things that I think will be really cool. Jen McNally, who was talked about on previous episodes, we won't get into all of that, but she does terrific work with wellness, and just love thinking about that. And she and I, a couple of weeks back, were talking about how January and February, it's going to be the end of winter, and just seasonally, this is a heavy time traditionally, not to mention all the other things that you can potentially stack onto that. And so we're in conversations. We're actually going to meet here later this morning to kind of finalize something that we're going to try to launch coming up here that'll be similar to this Love and Learn. So if you've enjoyed having these conversations, what we're going to try to do is do a Monday motivation where we focus in on a quote, maybe similar to what Melissa shared actually, and just try to be uplifting at 10 minutes, just a little way to maybe give you something to think about throughout the week. And then we'll try to share that quote out too, just so that we can all kind of have those foundational pieces. And I love that, right? I love that we, hopefully organizationally and just as educators across Nebraska can really continue to be intentional. I understand that things like self-care have almost, we've heard it so much and probably all been to sessions on those topics, but it's in the continual effort to maintain those that I think it becomes the real challenge beyond just the knowledge of it. And so hopefully that'll be a way for us to all continue to check in on that on a regular basis. So love that. And with that being said, let's take another lap around the horn here to talk about our learn from the week. And so what is something that, Melissa, you learned over the course of this past week?
I don't think I something new I've learned, but something that's been reaffirmed to me over the course of this year. We here at ESU 10 work with 4 local health departments because of the area that we cover and work with. So this week I've had the opportunity to be involved in 3 public health department calls, and then also superintendents are invited into those calls, and we also had a separate superintendent meeting. And it's just amazing to me. So right now the focus is on vaccinations and our tier of educators and getting that out. And there's 2 things that I've said over and over again since March. And one of them, I think I got it from Sarah Salem in Lincoln, but it was space and grace. And it's giving each other space and grace. And the other word has been pivot, which I got from Dr. Grover at Grand Island Public Schools. So pivot and space and grace. And those things were coming up in my mind because with these vaccinations, they're going to have to go out. There's not going to be a lot of notice in these calls, but everyone is coming together. We're definitely better together to make this happen. And so the teamwork that's involved in understanding we're all going to have to pivot to make it happen. And like Ben said, it was that growth mindset. We're going to do this and we're going to make it work, and it's going to be a positive thing. And meeting after meeting after meeting, that's what I heard. There was no, it was a growth mindset. We're going to make this happen for educators and for our communities and for our families. And so I appreciate the work of our public health departments and our superintendents and just the collaboration that's going on, that has occurred. And we definitely have learned and grown with each other throughout this time. And just we're better together. And it was just reaffirmed to me this week through that and being able to pivot to just make it work. And so it did my heart well, like Cindy said, to just see that meeting after meeting. And so I told our superintendents, I said, I'm just so proud of you. And I'm proud of the work that we've been doing in our educators and the local public health departments. We're definitely all coming together. And it's that hope. It's that hope we're going to make this work and moving forward. So that was reaffirmed to me this week.
That was so beautiful. I just appreciated just your positivity through all that. And you're right. That is, like we talked about from the top, there's a lot of meaningful work going on across the education landscape. And that's a major one in the midst of that too. So very cool. Sydney, what's something you learned over the course of this week?
Well, Andrew, as you might know, I'm new-ish to this role. I started on March 2nd. And so every day, just with everything that's gone on, I've learned something new every day, learning this new role, adapting to some of the other changes that have happened. But before this, I was the business marketing and management career field specialist. And so one thing that I want to share that I learned this week that I've had the opportunity to do as being new to this role is really learn about new career and technical education programs that are outside of that particular career field. One in particular that I learned about this week had to deal with our skilled and technical sciences area. And just to showcase one of our amazing CTE programs in the state, Louisville Public Schools, they are doing a home maintenance class, and they are collaborating with business and industry partners to get supplies donated. Quality First Drywall donated supplies to them, and Jesse Zweep, the outstanding instructor, shared some of the best practices that they are doing on Facebook, and he has them all spaced out. They're all wearing masks. They're all doing whatever it takes to get these technical skills and being in these CTE classrooms. And so it's just amazing that teachers and administrators are still wanting to provide these important opportunities for students, and they're going to extremes to make sure that they are getting these skills. And so kudos to Louisville Public Schools, their administration, and Jesse Zweep, the instructor in that area. So that's one example I wanted to share.
That's so great. That gets me so motivated too, because there is this national narrative right now that how am I supposed to phrase this? I think that because of the conditions, the impact it's having, potential adverse effect it's having on learning at this time. And it is tremendous to see the ways in which educators have, like you said, gone to just great lengths and set new creative boundaries for how they think about their work to ensure that we're still growing and still learning. And you can point to examples like that at this time. And that's inspiring to me. That's really terrific to hear about this. So thanks for sharing that. Thanks for advocating for that work. Otis again is joining in here. And so he's going to share his learn in the midst of this that I learned that he does like virtual conferences. I'm not sure how many of you attended the NEDA conference earlier this week. And I know that there's even some Future Ready going on right now, actually, as we're recording. Being able to go back and watch sessions, but it says at the end too, does miss the face-to-face and being able to network. And I'm with that too. I like being able to just have some informal chats like we're having right now. So Ben, what's something that over the course of this week?
Yeah. So for me, it's really it's been more of an ongoing thing this fall. But Canvas, we had probably it was over half of our school districts in ESU4 land bought Canvas with that special statewide buy. So we went from like 0 to now, a good chunk of our schools are going to be using it. And I'm thankful that my administrator at ESU4, Greg Robke, kind of empowered me by making me the lead on our Canvas for this area. We bought some licenses for ESU4 so that I could learn it. And I really want to give a good shout out to Shara Johnson from ESU2. Her trainings are phenomenal. I was at the one in Kearney at ESU10 earlier, in October. Every time I go to one of those trainings or we have our monthly Zooms, I learn something new and I feel like, okay, this isn't going to be so bad. I'm going to be able to help teachers and schools as they roll forward with this. So like I said, it's not really specific to this week but it's more of an ongoing thing. But for me, it's definitely Canvas. And just going back to your love, Andrew, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I love it that you and your son play NBA 2K, and my son plays Madden, and we had a babysitter for him the other day because it was a non-student day for Auburn, and I was there training. He bragged when we got home from school that he beat the babysitter in Madden. So just know that that's what you have to look forward to. You're going down that road.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun. I'm sure he's up there listening to me. So I'm in my basement at home right now because we're doing concurrent learning or whatever you want to call it today. We're there at home. So I'm going to transition with this. One of my learns is that my internet cannot handle them going to school and me doing a live session like this well. Because if you're watching me on delay, that is totally a product of us having too many devices on one home internet. Mm-hmm. But to kind of play off of that, and sometimes it's tough trying to discern whether something is a love or a learn for me. Sometimes I put it in one bucket and by the end of the week I move it to the other one. But I have a friend in Toronto who's an English teacher there who I have collaborated with for about 5 or 6 years now. And I would say probably every 6 months, we end up talking for half hour or an hour. And he is one of the most creative people that I've had a chance to just learn from in terms of just he sees his work so differently. And his name is Paul Dervasi, and we actually did a podcast, 6 months ago or something like that. And Craig Hicks was like, "Hey, I listen to the podcast all the time." He goes, "But I want to hear more from Paul because that was so out there that I had no frame of reference or context for that kind of conversation." And so this is maybe more of a learn and an apology. But Paul and I jumped on for a podcast which we released this week. And most of the podcasts are usually 30 minutes. We went 80 minutes. We were just nerding out, talking about alternate reality games for education, which I love how stoic he looks there. He looks like he's really scary. He's a pretty jovial dude. But it was really fun. And so if you want to skip over that episode, you're welcome to do so if I just scared you away. But I learned a lot from Paul during that time, as I always do, just about thinking about ways to sort of break the conventional way in which we go about our work. And we started to, even by the end of the pod, start to think about what that might mean for, like my kiddos are going through right now, like in this remote space, that you start to kind of get in the rhythm of what works, that you stop sometimes thinking about the potential of what could be if you were to try to redesign, reconfigure, break your personal norms for how you function in that space. And it was a good time to have that conversation after 2 weeks of getting away from things, to start to look creatively and how we might derive inspiration for our work by really pouring a little bit more of ourselves into it rather than just trying to kind of make a system work that we're not super happy with. So I don't know. Yeah, it was really good. And I was grateful for that. We've got some more comments here before we close things out. Oh, Greg, welcome here. Let's see. Greg said that he's learning about all the construction projects. Oh, yeah. New digs at ESU 4. Worth bringing up. The remodeling and things that are going on there. So I'm going to give you, Ben, how excited are you?
I am just through the roof excited. If you haven't been to the ESU4 house that we work in, you owe it to yourself to make a trip down here and see it. It's a beautiful old Victorian era house. I mean, some of the mantles and the fireplaces in it, it's got a lot of vintage charm, but it's not at all like conducive to a professional work environment. So I'm so excited. Like, it's fun to drive by the new building and see the construction. And I every once in a while I'll go in there and see what they're doing. And it's going to be so cool.
Doesn't it have a ghost? Is there a rumored ghost story with ESU4?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have not had the honor of having a ghost encounter, but folks that have worked for ESU4 longer than I have, like Ellen Stokebrand, our director of special education, she can tell you all about them. Like, apparently one of our former audiologists that has passed away is one of the ghosts. And I don't know how they know it's him. They can, like I said, they can tell these stories way better than me. But sometimes you'll be like, if you're in there, the worst is if you're ever working there by yourself after hours, because I've heard stories of people hearing like footsteps, like it sounds like kids are playing, and yet there's no one else in the building. So apparently it's a real thing. I just haven't had the pleasure of experiencing it yet.
Whoa, I did not know we were going to go into ghost stories here, but that was super intriguing.
Well, just to add an extra element of creepiness to that, the building was a mortuary before it became ESU4. And the only piece of evidence you need to believe that is the way to get to the basement is a ramp.
Ooh.
So there you go.
Whoa, we're gonna have to get Ellen on next week just for like ghost story chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, gosh, dang. Well, so I guess you're losing a ghost and gaining these new digs here, and Greg's love was to learn some of the nuances of developing that. I'm sure it's gonna be really cool with the learning space design for like commons areas, and I've seen some things at ESU3 too that in some of their expansion that's been just fun, probably cool, frustrating, amazing, and all those things. And so that said, it is about 11 o'clock, so we're going to bring this to a close. I want to say thank you again to Melissa, to Sydney, and to Ben for joining us. So grateful. Love hearing about the awesome work that everybody's doing across the state, and really just that we're all, despite the weight of the present moment, very joyful about the work that we're doing. And gosh, it's just so meaningful. You can just hear it in our conversation today. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.